you guys don't know how to install coilovers yet, don't worry. I'm going to show you how to do it on my Genesis G70. I've never done suspension on a Genesis before, so this is kind of new for me and for you guys. And then down here we got a set of control arms. These are just like the adjustable arms that you're gonna need to adjust camber, toe, and maybe caster. I'm not sure what's adjustable on this car, but I got these as well because one thing I hate doing is taking everything apart again to redo certain things. Like if I didn't have these, I can obviously add the coilovers on stock arms, but later on if I need to align the car and I can't get the same alignment specs that came from the factory, then I'm gonna have to install these later and have to take everything apart. So yeah, I don't want to do that. The best thing I can tell you guys is if you can do it all at once, do it. Here's the weird thing about the Genesis though. This is very like a European car setup. Very much like a European car setup because it's got a divorce spring setup, meaning the coilover, the shock is actually separate. So there's a shock right here and then the spring right here. So that's going to be interesting to figure out how to work on because all my other cars aren't like that. And then the front right here, this is just your typical strut assembly system. So you just put a coilover on here because you got your spring and then you got your shock. So let's get this started. We got to remove the wheels and then we'll start unbuttoning everything so we can drop all the arms and the struts. So with the wheels removed, you can see the calipers right here. This is your brake rotor. I did add a 25mm spacer and you can see how that's bolted up. It uses the existing studs on there and then it has its own studs so you don't have to cut your studs or get extended ones if you want to run bigger spacers than like a 5mm or something. And then up here you can see your OEM struts, and then up there's probably like 3 bolts or something. And then usually they would have, there you go, one big nut and bolt going through right here for this upright, and then your control arms are right here. So this guy, all bolted together. So super easy to remove, and this is a new car, so you know it's not super dirty. And then over here, this is your sway bar that's also attached to the top right here on your shock. The rear looks similar, but a little bit more confusing because now you have a shock right here by itself and then the spring right beside it, right? A little confusing from an import guy like me that never worked on something like this. This is very European. And then you can see the upright right here has got the sway bar end link connected to the sway bar right there, baby sway bar. So if we count our arms, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 different types. And up here we got 1, 2 down here, 3, and then 4 different types. So yeah, this whole thing has to come off. So I loosen this guy up, loosen this guy up, pull this guy out. This is just gonna do, oh, there it is, smack my camera. That's 1. Make sure you keep all the bolts together just in case. Sometimes they're different lengths, like so. First time doing this, dude. We're all learning right now. Okay, next. So that's off, that's off. We're gonna do maybe this guy. Looks easy. Okay, so we got this guy loose, pop that guy out, and then this guy as well. If I had another set of hands, I would have recorded this real time, but I don't have my freaking tripod here with me, so sorry. But you know how to unbolt stuff. There's another one. So I got the lower shock bolt loosened and then the 2 up top. So I'm just gonna disconnect this guy right here. This is actually quite easy. I don't need to go inside. So that guy is loose, and this guy right here, and this should drop. And then there you go. Here's your fancy OEM shock with about 4,000 miles. Okay, take this guy off. There you go, one guy. So I got the rear end fully buttoned up. This took a lot longer than I thought, but that's usually the process, right? Like you're still learning. So I got all the arms right here installed the same way I removed them. The trickiest part here, I guess, is just tightening these guys. Not a lot of room. Got the new shock and then the adjustable spring, as you can see down here. And this adjusts from the top. I'm not sure if you guys can see that right there. And then one tip, if you guys are doing this on your Stinger or your G70, the easiest way to drop the spring and the shock is literally just remove this one bolt. This whole thing swings down and you drop everything. Yeah, well, I learned that the second time I did it. But also make sure that you put back all your sensor brackets right here because that was tricky as well. We're gonna drop the car so we could loosen up the strut bolts up top. So up top we got 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3, and that should be it. Here, I think it's just a little cover. There you go, just so you can hold the shock shaft while removing the center. So we got the top 3 bolts removed, the 1 bolt in the bottom removed, and then right here, I just kind of stuck this little extension to kind of open up this clamp, right? So this bottom piece is actually clamping on the shock. So I'm not sure if you guys can see that. I just wedged that on there so it opens up a little, and then we're just gonna hit this with a mallet real quick to drop the whole assembly. Oh, look at it go. It's working. Jeebus Christ. Here's a close-up of what you need to do. You just gotta wedge this 1/4" extension, open this up, and this whole thing drops. Ooh. Here we go. Okay. Okay. And we've already set the body height on this for the proper droopage. Then there's a tang on the back that you need to drop in between, by the way. Okay. Get our bolt. There you go. Nice. So the front end's way easier than the back because there's really not a lot to do here. 3 bolts up top and then 1 bolt holding this guy right here. You just have to open up the clamp and then this whole thing falls off. You put it back together and that's it. Just put back all your sensors and all that jazz, including the end link right here for the sway bar. And that's pretty much it. We're just gonna set base height right now and hopefully she looks good. The final step is to make sure that you torque all of your bolts. As you can see right here, I have a marker that tells me that I've already done that. So the end links is about 80 foot-pounds. These guys right here, all the rods is 98. And then the big bolts right here, I think these are M12s. That is about 125 foot-pounds, same here and there. So yeah, just make sure you torque everything and then mark them so you don't forget because you don't want things falling off. So here's the coilovers installed, 1 finger gap front to back. We are upgrading to 20-inch work wheels, so it's gonna be a really tight fit. But for now, this is a nice stance for a daily setup. One thing I don't wanna do is make this into another build where it's useless. So 1 finger gap is actually quite perfect if you guys are curious how to set up your coilovers. And as you can see right there, the 25mm spacer looks perfect once you actually lower the car a little bit. We might lower this car like another 1/4 inch, but that's pretty much it. I don't want to make this car undrivable because it is really quick to just over lower the car and make them undrivable and 2-step or whatever. But you guys might be curious why I'm not doing air ride on this car since it is kind of like a VIP car. I hate the ride quality of air. And you know, this is a very sporty car, and if you cut off its legs and put bags, it kind of ruins its drivability. So I'm just gonna keep it coilovers because it's super quick and nimble this way. Once you go air, like I said, it is such a dog.